Okay, Debbie, we're gonna ask you some questions real quick. Oh, right when you say your name, dude. Oh, we got all down there. Okay, can you turn the light off again, Debbie?
Wow. Glenn, if you're in this room with us right now, can you please set off one of the devices that we've laid out for you? Did you hear that? Yeah. Our last investigation of Gettysburg took us to two of its most well-known haunts, the Jenny Wade House and the Gettysburg Orphanage. As I mentioned in the previous video, Gettysburg is considered to be one of the most haunted cities in the country, with paranormal encounters occurring on nearly every landmark and inside every building here. Tonight, we will be taking you into two homes that were once converted into temporary field hospitals during the war, both of which are haunted by a rather gruesome past. When the war reached Gettysburg and fighting broke out, many buildings in town were often converted into headquarters, barracks, field hospitals, and other compounds used to aid the Union in maintaining their position. It's estimated that around 30 to 40 buildings that stand in Gettysburg today were used as field hospitals to treat wounded soldiers in between battles. Today they exist as hotels, shops, homes, and corner stores. Stop 1 takes us into a small 3-story apartment located on Baltimore Street that may have been converted into a temporary field hospital during the battle, according to the property owners. Our focus won't be on any soldiers or resident spirits from the war, but rather a woman by the name of Deborah. Deborah Harmon and Donald Painter lived in this apartment sometime between the late 1970s up until the mid-1980s. Donald was known to be a heavy drinker and would often lash out at Deborah over things that upset him. One Friday night at around 12 a.m., Deborah and Donald went out to a nearby bar for drinks. Deborah approached the bar to grab a drink for both her and Donald, and while waiting on her drinks, she briefly exchanged casual conversation with two men at the bar. Donald saw this out of context and became jealous, insisting the two men step out back of the bar to fight. Deborah tried to intervene, but the two men unfortunately ended up beating Donald pretty badly as a result of this confrontation. In a fit of anger, Donald rushed back to his apartment on Baltimore Street and grabbed a Winchester .30-30 lever-action rifle and 2 bullets. He intended to kill both of these men for what they did to him, but Deborah was close behind him and tried to intervene. After a brief struggle to wrestle the rifle out of Donald's hand, the gun went off, hitting Deborah in the neck and sending her down to the floor. She would pass away shortly after at 31 years old. According to a court testimony, Donald pleaded to the court that it was an accident, stating that when Deborah pulled on his arm, the gun fell to the ground and the impact caused a round to go off. He had just gone target shooting earlier in the day and forgot to unload the chambered round, which is why he only grabbed 2 bullets when he attempted to confront the 2 men from the altercation. Unaware of the chambered round, the gun went off during the wrestle, and when Deborah was struck, he quickly caught her and laid her in the kitchen. When EMT and police arrived on the scene, she had been found in the dining room area, with a trail of blood leading from the kitchen into the dining room, speculating that she hit the floor and then crawled several feet from where she had fell. After much deliberation in front of a jury of 12 people, Donald's testimony convinced the jurors that it was an accident and was convicted of manslaughter charges instead of murder. He would spend 5 years in prison and be ordered to pay $70,000 in restitution fees. Donald has since been released from prison and at 76 years old resides in North Carolina with a wife and family. Tonight I teamed up with Colin and Connor of Paranormal Files once more to see if we can make contact with the spirit or spirits residing in this haunted apartment, and to see if Deborah, or Debbie, still resides here.
Okay, everybody, so to whoever's joining us tonight here in this apartment, My name is Colin. I'm here with my friends.
My name is Connor.
I'm Mike.
And we're just trying to contact anybody that may have any sort of connection to this place. Debbie, if you're here, we're not confrontational or bad people. We just would love to talk to you. So if you could make your presence known somehow, that would be awesome. We have a bunch of little toys set up. You just have to walk up and touch them. Step right here in front of them. And we'll be able to see that you're here.
Okay, I don't know if I'm just hearing shit, but every time that you talk and pause, I hear like a woman's voice down the hallway. The first time I heard, I'm here, and then I heard somebody say my name. But they said my full name. They said Michael.
That's what I was like when we were walking around earlier too. I feel like I kept hearing kind of just like not even just a voice, but it's almost like I don't know how to say it. It's like a female presence.
Yeah, it's almost like a woman with kind of like a low voice.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm here.
Well, Debbie, if that's you, thank you for making contact with us. Like we said, we're here to hang out with you. If you want to talk, if you want to show us around your house.
Whoa. Whoa. There it is. Thank you.
That spike was huge.
Yeah.
Both of them. The one was 2, and the other was just 1, which is what's weird. You know, it's almost like.
Yeah, they both went off at the exact same time. That was wild.
And the second one was just this one.
And I really don't see devices go off. They're like, what, 5 feet apart from each other?
Yeah.
They both
No,
instantly.
Earlier this wasn't even on camera. Connor and I were setting stuff up, and we saw the REM pod go full max, and then it was green at first, and then it turned to blue and yellow.
No sh-
As we were talking
like
to
a
it.
huge spike.
Yeah.
And it's like stop, just like it did just now.
Yeah, so it's like something likes that thing.
You don't have to be afraid of us. None of this stuff in this room will hurt you in any way. These are means of communication for us, so that way we know that you're here. You can come up and touch any one of them, or you can reach out and touch one of us to let us know that you're here. If there's anything that we can do to make you feel more comfortable, please let us know.
It's funny though, after that big spike, it seems like the energy
It's different, right?
Oh,
I was just saying, it seems the energy
Dude,
is
the
going
exact
up.
opposite meter, bro. How okay, from over here to right when you're saying that to right there. To
Yeah.
a completely different meter.
Over this way, and that meter goes off. Did you go out in the hallway?
Yeah, when he said the hallways are like they're the place.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm going to set up some equipment out there as well.
Yo, you're missing some going.
I've been hearing it. Have you seen this yet?
Oh yeah, I got one. Yeah. You want to set it up? Let's go. You guys want to use this thing?
I'm going to set it up to yes, no. I'm just going to ask you a few simple questions. You can answer yes or no by coming up and touching this device. We're right here for you.
Should I stop Spirit Hunter and keep it running?
Keep it running.
You want me to run mine too? I have 2 of them going?
Yeah.
Got some pretty interesting results with 2 of them going at the same
We
time.
did that one time.
I
That
know.
was the best we got.
Yeah.
Doorway. spirits with us right now? The cat ball was going off again. Stopped.
This place is crazy.
I know, man.
2 REM pods and a fucking cat ball.
Right after it says doorway.
Right after he says doorway. And where are they located? In the doorway.
This is laughing at us.
Debbie, are you playing jokes with us?
Can I ask?
Sad.
Sad. I was gonna say, how are you feeling right now? So
There you go.
weird. Sad. Debbie, all we want to do is figure out what happened to you. Oh,
Quiet.
Quiet. Do you not want to talk about that, Debbie?
no.
No.
It's a no.
Wow.
Alright, Debbie. If you don't want to talk about it, if you just want to talk about something else.
He said earlier that she doesn't respond to her
Yeah.
questions. Okay, so.
And then she says, be quiet. Ask her.
No. And it also said quiet right as a REM pod.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, Debbie, what was your favorite food? Do you have a food that you liked?
She killed.
She killed.
Good.
She likes good food. She likes good food.
Good.
Oh. Oh wow, it went up to blue.
Both of them.
Yeah, both
This
of
one
them.
hit too?
Yeah.
Wait, so good food or she killed?
She killed good.
She killed good food. What did it say?
Mortuary. What? I've never seen that.
Me neither.
Mortuary? Deborah, are you here with us? Or I forgot. You like to be called Debbie. Is that you?
Wow.
Oh, and the cat ball! And the cat ball! And the cat ball!
That's nuts, man.
How is that possible? Yo, that's actually crazy because the cat ball is motion sensor.
Yeah.
And
Mason.
There's a Nathan here?
Mason.
Mason?
The cat ball is motion censored and the REM pod is
Wait.
EM censored. So those are two completely different things that are happening at the same time.
So it said Mason and then it said witch. I don't know if it's saying the name Mason or if it's talking about Freemasons.
Jasper.
Jasper. I never heard none of that.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica.
So Jasper and a Jessica.
Jasper and Jessica.
Maybe there are other spirits coming in from around the area that know that we're here right now trying to make
I
contact.
mean, this building is very old.
It said no. Have you always been here?
No, we said multiple spirits. No.
But why would we get multiple names?
Well,
Maybe it's talking about family? Up? Oh, you want us to go upstairs?
Upstairs? Should we go upstairs, boys?
Yeah, I'm down.
I'm down.
You want to go up?
Got static cameras down here. You want to leave those down here?
No, bring them up.
Bring them up.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So you can see that before I finish setting up my angles and my equipment, we're already getting instant responses to the questions being asked. Whoever or whatever is here claiming to be Debbie seems to enjoy our interactions with them, and they're more than happy to set off devices almost immediately. At one point we had 3 or 4 devices going off at once. I've never seen 2 cat balls go off 25 feet apart from each other, and honestly this was incredible. I mean, we've never gotten this before. The energy in this place just felt electric. I mean, it felt alive the minute that you walked in there, and whatever was there wanted us to keep going, so we did. Most of the activity that's reported here is said to occur in the kitchen and the dining room area where Deborah passed away. Nonetheless, we still wanted to see what would happen if we went upstairs and investigated the bedrooms, just to see if we would get the same type of interactions. I think it's a truck. I'm gonna
I'm rolling.
Okay, so we're upstairs right now. Debbie, anyone up here?
Did it just say yeah downstairs?
Yeah, I heard something.
It's like it said yeah.
Yeah, kind of did. Can you let us know that you're here by lighting up this flashlight? All you have to do is grab this light right here.
I can speak through this.
Oh, the light!
No way.
Immediately,
Did
bro.
you hear what the spirit talker said?
What did it say?
I can speak through this.
Okay, can you turn the light off again, Debbie?
Wow. Wow.
Okay, Debbie. Was it an accident? Yes, it was an accident.
Just to confirm, can you turn it off if it was an accident? If he didn't mean to? I know you don't want to talk about it. We want clarification, that's all.
I just heard something in this room. What'd you hear?
Whoa.
Wait, we talked this one?
Whoa. Damn.
Okay, so maybe it was an accident, huh?
I guess that's her way of saying it was.
Debbie, can you please, if this is you, turn that flashlight off?
Party.
Yeah, it is a party. Did it just say Debbie downstairs?
Both of them. Oh,
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Does all these lights feel like a party, Debbie?
I'm gonna go grab your phone because I swear it said Debbie.
It's talking up us.
And an apple, if there is an apple.
You heard us.
You heard us. And us.
Table.
It said Shelley. Sounded like Debbie though. Shelley.
What else did it say?
It said Glenn, medieval, him, sleep, Williams, Jimmy, person, Shelley.
Atmosphere.
It said a lot. A lot of names.
All right, let's do a DR60. You ready?
Yeah,
sorry,
ready.
blind.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Soldier.
Okay, here we go. Oh, right behind you. That light just came on. Debbie, can you turn that back off?
What?
Oh,
That was instant.
yo, REM pod and the thing. Okay, Debbie, we're gonna ask you some questions real quick. Oh, right when you say your name, dude.
That's awesome.
Oh wait, we still got this. Wanna listen to this before it died? Connor! Connor! Connor!
Dude, that said my name.
Unfortunately, the events that occurred in this apartment are very tragic. Between its potential use as a field hospital and the unexpected loss of Deborah Harmon, there is no doubt that there is heavy energy existing in this place. I'm not too certain that we were actually talking to Debbie, but whatever is there was more than happy to interact with us under the guise that it could be her. Regardless, this location was incredibly active, and it was amazing to see how quickly we received responses to our questions for pretty much the entire length of that investigation. Stop 2 takes us to a farmhouse that was confirmed to have been converted into a field hospital during the Battle of Culps Hill. With this structure located less than a quarter mile away from where the original battle took place, it was quickly seized by the Union Army to treat its wounded during one of the most chaotic fights in Gettysburg. Since technology and military firearms were still in their infancy during this time, muskets and cannons were known to be fairly inaccurate and required soldiers to train extensively under the right conditions to fire them effectively. This meant almost all of the battles throughout the Civil War took place during the day. The Battle of Culps Hill, however, was one of the very few battles that took place at night, and for good reason. Lack of sight and excessive smoke produced from firing muskets and cannons made it nearly impossible to see, resulting in excessive friendly fire and failed coordinated attacks that resulted in mass casualties on both sides. I will warn you now, this next bit is pretty graphic, but it's a part of the history of this location. When wounded soldiers required limbs to be amputated, they would be held down on a kitchen table by several men, while a doctor cut off the limb and cauterized the wound. This was done before the days of anesthesia or painkillers, so I'm sure you can imagine how bad this must have felt and how horrifying the inside of this place looked after the Battle of Culps Hill was over. Doctors would often toss limbs out of the nearby window in an effort to keep the space clear, and because so many people had to have limbs amputated, there would be piles of limbs outside the windows waiting to be tossed into a fire pit or buried in a mass grave. As you can imagine, this field hospital was one of the most gruesome scenes of the Battle of Gettysburg. Due to our limited time and some technical difficulties experienced when arriving at this location, we decided to head straight to the attic to investigate. We were told that a young woman by the name of Elizabeth likes to spend her time up here, mostly in or around the crawl space. Elizabeth lived in this home, but she passed about 30 to 40 years after the Battle of Gettysburg, so she has no knowledge of the war or what went on. In the process of trying to contact her, it seems a few other spirits decided to step in and make their presence known as well.
Okay, to anybody in this farmhouse, whether you were a soldier who got killed during the battle, you were dressed here and died here, or you lived on this land, we would love to talk to you.
Nana.
Nana.
Can you tell
Down.
us? Down. Huh. You told us up during the thing. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. That wasn't me.
That wasn't me either. Oh, look.
Oh.
Look.
Ooh.
Holy
Elizabeth, are you in the room with us right now?
Glenn.
Glenn. Maybe that was one of the soldiers who received treatment here?
Could be.
Glenn, if you're in this room with us right now, can you please set off one of the devices that we've laid out for you? Whoa. That was instant. Thank you. Glenn, if you would like to have a conversation with us. Oh, did you see the paralight?
This thing's spiky.
Yeah.
It's getting it right here.
And the cap ball is still going off. They don't go off that long.
If you were a soldier that died in the
Over
battle.
here.
Over here.
I have many regrets.
Damn. If you were a soldier that died in the battle, can you make a knocking noise like this?
That started going off before you did that. Did you hear that? Did anybody else hear that? I heard somebody like whisper on the steps.
How many spirits are in this house with us?
Look. That's 2 locations now. That thing is just going nuts.
This has been an active night.
Yeah.
Hate.
Hate.
Are you angry at the circumstances of your life and what happened to you? Do you feel hate? Look at that. I'm very sorry that you had to deal with the things that you had to deal with. I know living through time of war isn't something that is easy to deal with, but we're not here to hurt you or take anything away from you. We just want to have a conversation with you and learn your story.
You don't need to feel threatened by us. You don't need to be afraid of us. We are only here to talk to you and help you out in any way that we can.
That's wild. I never see those things go off.
We're going to do an EVP session with you. All you have to do is use your voice to talk to us. Okay?
Look at that.
Right next to it, too.
That's so insane. Lights. It said lights. That's awesome.
Okay, everybody. Elizabeth, if you're here, all we want to do is figure out who is here in the house with us.
History.
Do you know the history of this house? Can you tell us?
Hear that tapping?
Where are the spirits in this house?
1900s.
So after coming through our EVP session, I wasn't able to find much that made sense just based on what we asked, but there were a couple of responses that came through crystal clear, and it was very hard to ignore them. Did you hear that? Yeah! Whoa, that was so f***ing clear. Honestly, it's amazing to think that just down the street from one of the most famous landmarks in Gettysburg is arguably one of the most active spots in the entire city. We were able to capture some great moments in part one, but it felt great to return and capture constant, steady interactions from spirits that reside in these other locations. It makes you wonder if we were talking to Debbie that night in the apartment, or if it was someone else just trying to gain our trust because it liked the interaction and the fact that we were talking to it. Is it just restless spirits haunting their final resting place? Only time will tell when we make our inevitable return to these locations and learn more about the hauntings of Gettysburg.